Morning. How are ya? Good morning. Happy Monday, everyone. Anyone out there today? There we go. Good morning. So, did everyone have a nice weekend? Relax, it's Monday. I'm doing well, thank you. I had a nice weekend. I did a lot of stuff around the house. Once again, kind of took the weekend off social media, my phone, which always makes me feel so much better on Monday. And so went out to a really nice dinner last night with some good friends, which was awesome. It's always good to see them and just have a little bit of social time. And the restaurant we went to actually had dessert that I could eat, which is unreal. So I had a vegan and gluten-free chocolate cake, which was very nice to indulge in because very rarely when I go out to eat do I ever get dessert because there's always dairy and stuff in them. So it was a nice little outing. So it was a good weekend. So yeah, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. My hair is straight today because I went out last night. So I actually, did it. But it is Monday and back to the grind. So here we all are, right? So happy Monday. I hope you guys all enjoyed your weekend and I hope you took some of my advice to just stay off that dreaded phone on the weekend if you can. I've really been trying hard to do that and really limit that on the weekend so that I can come back here nice and refreshed for all of you on Monday morning and give you some interesting tips and health tips. So today we're going to be talking about a therapy that you actually have in your home. Yeah, one that you don't have to pay anything additional for. You pay for it just to live, which is water. So, most of us have a home with running water. And I don't know if you know this, but water has been used for centuries for healing in many different applications. And we've talked a little bit about internal water, and we're going to talk about that today, but we're also going to talk about external applications of water and how that helps you with your health. So kind of fun, some of these older traditional, naturopathic remedies that have been around forever that we just kind of overlook. We get so focused, I think, on conventional medicine and what's the treatment, what's the pill, what do we take to get better, this and that, when we really need to sometimes just take a look at what we might have around the house and heal that way. So we're going to talk about that today. I wish it was still the weekend too, kind of. But guess what? The next weekend I'll be here in a few days. So always look forward. So hopefully my kids won't interrupt me. I tried to let them know I was going live and I heard nothing. It was crickets. So hopefully they are up there doing their school stuff online. We did get notice that they will be going back to school in a few more weeks. So I'm psyched because they need it. They miss their friends. They learn better around other kids, and I think they'll excel so much more than they are at home. So I'm pretty excited. Great, I'm glad you received the supplements. I hope you enjoy them. So keep me posted. All right, so let's dive in. So I'm Dr. Tricia Pingle. This is your morning checkup. For those of you that are new here, I am here every Monday through Friday, for the most part, around this time, talking about different health topics. We talk about sometimes stuff that's very personal. Sometimes we talk about large health topics. Sometimes we talk about naturopathic therapies. Today we are talking about a fairly naturopathic therapy, which is the healing power of water. There is an actual discipline called hydrotherapy, and it's something that we actually in naturopathic medical school spent quite a lot of time on. Some things like wet socks treatments and constitutional hydrotherapy and using water to move the lymphatic system, things like that. So those are some of the things we're going to talk about. Different temperatures of water also have different impacts on the body, including adrenal gland stimulation and stress response and healing and boosting, your normal everyday processes. So it's pretty darn cool. So have any of you used water? I see we have one that does a hot shower. It's great for when you're feeling depressed. I agree. And I would add essential oils to that shower. Maybe some lavender. Lavender's probably my favorite when I'm feeling kind of depressed and out of it. But you could also do something uplifting like citrus. bergamot. So you can put a few drops of essential oil in your shower. And that's another beautiful thing of water. You can mix it with other things, right? So just a little suggestion for you there on that hot shower. So we've talked a lot about how important it is to drink water and how important water is internally. And I do still firmly believe that a lot of our health conditions, dehydration is often overlooked as a contributing factor or, an exasperating factor in many illnesses, because the majority of us are dehydrated. People don't drink enough water. You guys can probably tell me by now, how much water should you be drinking? Let's see who gets it right. Who's the first one? I wish I had a prize. I need a prize. Anyway, half your body weight in ounces minimum. So if you're a 200-ounce person, you need at least 100 ounces a day, right? Sometimes simply doing that can resolve fatigue. It can help with absorbing nutrients from your food and your vitamins. It can help metabolize and utilize medications more effectively. Exactly, Tiffany. Nice job. Yes. Nice, Carolyn. Nice, Marie. Look at you guys. You're on top of it. I love it. So we've talked about that, and we'll talk a little bit about it today. But there's also ways to use water externally. Now, maybe you've done this. Maybe you've had an eye injury or like a virus in your eye. Sometimes they say to do hot and cold compresses on the eye, right? That is a form of hydrotherapy. That's using water to promote a healing effect, right? Something you already have, most likely. If you have a computer, I'm pretty sure you have water, right? Yes, many of you answering the question. I love it. I love it. I love it. So water was first used. It's been used as an ancient naturopathic treatment forever, for centuries, in Egypt, Persia, China, India, and Israel. Later, in the 1800s, Sebastian Neep established water was a traditional European cure after curing his own tuberculosis with cold water treatments. Okay, it was actually considered curative, just water in itself, simple old water, crazy. Cured himself of tuberculosis, which obviously was a huge problem, very detrimental. And I can't remember, I was looking actually when I was doing some comparisons between current pandemics, past pandemics, and kind of looking at death rates and things like that. Tuberculosis, I can't remember, but I want to say it was like 1 in 7 people died of tuberculosis. So when you look at how detrimental that pandemic was and you compare it sometimes to some of the ones we go through, we need to sometimes keep that in perspective, right? There's always so many years that certain viruses and bugs will take over, and this is a normal common trend in our history, and tuberculosis was a big one. So that's a pretty amazing cure for him to cure it with water. But at that point, hydrotherapy became popular, not only to how well it worked because of that, but also because the treatments were really easily done at home, right? They're cost effective, they're easy to do yourself. So there are different types of hydrotherapy, internal and external, okay? So external could be anything from taking cold or hot showers, floating in salt water, which we talked about last Monday, aquatic therapy, swimming, aquatic massage, steam baths, saunas, sitz baths, wet wraps, compresses, constitutional hydrotherapy. Now, constitutional hydrotherapy, if you haven't heard about it, is we're trained in it in naturopathic medicine, where basically you lay on a table, you wrap yourself in wet sheets and wool blankets with the assistance of electrodes placed on the body that helps stimulate the lymphatic system. So you're essentially using hot and cold water treatments in addition to electrostimulation in order to primarily use to help the immune system. So it's used very regularly for people with autoimmune disease to help manage their condition. Also, if you have a virus or you have a flu or something like that. So we would see people that would come in for regular treatments, not only to improve their vitality and their overall well-being, but we would have people coming in when they're sick in order to speed healing time. So constitutional hydrotherapy is a really cool discipline. Now that one has to be done by a practitioner because you're not going to be sticking electrodes on yourself, right? But the concept of hot and cold application in order to stimulate immune response is absolutely still valid, even in absence of those electrostimulation. And this is where wet wraps, Maybe if you've gone to a spa, they've done like detox wraps where they basically do a water treatment and then wrap you in towels and blankets, whether they're hot, cold, or otherwise. These are all hydrotherapy treatments and based off the ability of water applications to stimulate healing and improve vitality. Have you guys heard of any of this before? Is this completely foreign, or are you guys like, yeah, we do this? Have any of you tried this? Anyone try constitutional hydrotherapy? I'll give you a second. And then I'm going to go into what some of the common conditions are that people use hydrotherapy for. But I'm curious if you guys have actually tried this. A lot of people do the hot and cold shower thing. You know, a hot shower followed by a splash of cold. Obviously, if you burn yourself on the stove, what's the first thing you do? If you burn yourself cooking, you put cold water on it, right? It's hydrotherapy, right? We don't think about that, right? We just think, oh, we got to put it under cold water. Why? Well, because the cold water has an effect on the area of the burn, right? Or when you bruise yourself and you put ice on it. Why? You strain your ankle. Why do you do hot and cold applications? Those are all the same concept because it induces healing. It helps lower swelling in some cases, and in other cases bring up blood flow to the area to heal. So all of these things that we've done just intuitively without really thinking about it, you know, putting ice on a wound. I mean, my son was out there rollerblading the other day and fell and, you know, scraped up his leg and it was all swollen, and so he runs to the freezer and he gets an ice pack. Well, that's hydrotherapy right there. That's hydrotherapy 101, right? Does taking a hot shower until the hot water runs out the same thing? Not quite, although I guess if the water gets really cold after that, then maybe. So yeah, I mean, these are all things that we do that maybe we don't think so much about being a healing response, right? Sitz baths. Sitz baths are very common for the treatments of hemorrhoids, infections. So a sitz bath is when you have a few inches of water, like say in a bathtub, and you put something in it, whether it be vinegar or maybe, Epsom salt or whatever, and you sit in it, or you put your hand in it. Right? So let's say you have an infection in your toe and you put your toe in it and you let it sit in there to draw infection out. These are all the use of water to heal. And I think all of us at some point have done some variation of it, in our healing, but maybe not as consistently enough as we need to in order to get a full response. So doing things like taking a warm shower and then right afterwards splashing yourself with cold can actually have a lot of great benefit. I personally am not a fan of cold water. I do not like it at all. It drives me nuts. I like to be warm. I mean, I live here in Arizona, right? But, but there's a benefit. Sometimes I can't go quite as cold on the cold water when I do my cold rinse off at the end. I kind of have to go more lukewarm, but still. Martha, that's a good point. It does make you think about traditional, conventional medical therapy and why we're not utilizing water more. But they are. You just have to think about it. They are actually using it because when you sprain your ankle, what's the first thing they tell you to do? Hot and cold if you have a sprained back. So in the physical medicine arena, I think with the orthopedics, some of the physical therapy, definitely in chiropractic and things like that, they are using water, right? But you're not thinking about that in that way and how much you could actually maintain that at home. Taking a bath every day can calm your nerves. It can promote better sleep. Right? We talked about the float tanks last week and how that actually has been shown to lower anxiety, improve sleep, improve quality of life, improve vitality just from floating in water. It's pretty cool. So the benefits of hydrotherapy are vast. I mean, they could be applied to pretty much every system in our body. And then you can look at the other side of that, the scientific research that links drinking water to cognitive function, digestion, immunity, energy, and weight management. In fact, there was a study where scientists assessed the cognitive function of 40 children after drinking 300 milliliters of water compared to drinking no water. And they found that those that drank the water had a better memory. Right? Because water is very important to our body. Okay? There was also another study that simply showed gargling pure water would reduce their episodes of upper respiratory infections by 11%. So it was 387 adults, and all they did was gargle water and spit it out. And they lowered their episodes of upper respiratory tract infections by 11%. This goes back to some of the other things we've talked about the mucous membranes. I think when we were talking about vitamin A, we were talking about how that helps the mucous membranes and these pink tissues here that control what goes in. Well, the back of our throat is covered in mucous membranes, and that's what allows things to get into us, right? So that's why gargling salt water can make a difference on strep throat or on other type of issues, but even gargling pure water can help expel the bugs that are trying to sit back there, right? And here we are using all these medications, but sometimes there's these easily remedy things that are just at your house that you could do every day. So I wonder if all of us every single morning gargled water, would we really see less illness? That'd be an awesome study. I mean, they did it on 387 adults and it was favorable. So I would love to see it on a larger sample size, right? I gargle with water and apple cider vinegar fairly regularly. So do my kids. We're a very healthy household. Now, granted, we do a lot of different things to stay healthy. It's not simply just that, but you wonder. So that's kind of how internal water can help. There's also external hydrotherapy that benefits. Here's some of the lists that the research shows that external hydrotherapy therapies can help with. And this is stuff like hot and cold compresses, wraps, sitz baths, those types of things. Acne, acute and chronic pain, anxiety and depression, arthritis, burns and wounds, digestion, headaches, heart failure, hemorrhoids, poor circulation, sleep disorders, sinusitis, reducing stress, varicose veins, and even more. Just from that action of cold and hot applications. In fact, there was a study that used cold water therapy in cancer patients and found that it significantly increased their white blood cell counts, including their neutrophils, their lymphocytes, and their monocytes. Now, neutrophils are what respond in the early part of an infection. Okay, so they're the first ones to jump up. And then after so many days, the lymphocytes jump up. And then the monocytes respond to certain types of illnesses. So you may have heard of mononucleosis, right, which is an Epstein-Barr virus that jacks up the monocytes. So all of these white blood cells, their whole purpose of jumping up is to kill off the invader. Okay, so you get a virus in, your immune system sends white blood cells, or even a cut or a burn. I burned myself on tofu a couple weeks ago. You can't even see it anymore. Pretty cool. But everything rushes to the area, all the white blood cells, right? So if they noticed in this study that in cancer patients who have a particularly difficult time mounting an immune response, harder time mounting an immune response than I would, they showed significant increase in their white blood cell counts simply with cold water therapy treatments. That's pretty fascinating, isn't it? How much apple cider vinegar in your water? I just do like a teaspoon and then a little bit of water. So, I mean, I can go as strong as a 50-50 solution. Not as many people can do that. Back when you were a child, my mom used to make us gargle water with a little bit of salt and a little bit of apple cider vinegar to keep the flu away. Yep, and I bet it worked. That's exactly why I do it. Especially during the cold and flu season, I definitely gargle apple cider vinegar. The minute I start to get any sort of irritated throat, I start drinking water and I start gargling salt and apple cider vinegar as well. So do my kids. And I'm probably the one that gets, well, one of my boys doesn't ever get sick either. I would say the two of us are the ones that very rarely get sick. When I get sick, I'm down. I don't get sick very often, but when I get sick, you won't hear from me for a week. But luckily, it only happens about every 10 years, so it hasn't been too bad. But yeah. It's pretty amazing, all the stuff, isn't it? I know, Patricia, it's amazing. So if they can bring up the white blood cell count in people with cancer by simply using cold water therapy, that is one we need to pay attention to. Another study looked at patients with COPD, so chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, right? And revealed that repeated cold water stimulations not only reduced the frequency of their infections, but also increased their lymphocyte counts, lowered their inflammation, and improved their well-being, right? COPD is one of the high risk factors of COVID because they have lower oxygen perfusion, right? So if using cold water helped lower their chances of getting infection and helped reduce the inflammation and had a better immune response, that's another very important thing to consider. These tests are being done on people that are already in an immunocompromised state and they're seeing improvements. So if you do that on someone with a great immune system or a decent immune system, you're going to see incredible benefits as well. Additionally, there was a study in 2010 that found that hydrotherapy would treat moderate lymphedema. So if you have a poor lymphatic system, you swell, right? Typically in the legs, that's a very common place to have it, where the legs get really swollen. Using hydrotherapy can actually help with that, and this helped in those that were undergoing breast cancer treatment, and they were having a lot of swelling or blocked lymph nodes. So many times if you have a swollen lymph node, and many of you have had swollen lymph nodes, maybe you don't know what I'm talking about, but let's say you get strep throat or you get the flu or whatnot, and when you feel along your neck here, you feel lumps, right, that show up while you're sick. Those are your lymph nodes filling with lymph fluid, and the whole purpose of that is to get this virus out of your body. I mean, the lymphatic system is meant to move things out. So by applying hot, cold, it's kind of like a massage of those lymphatic channels. It's like someone's just massaging it down, right? And if those are really full of fluid and you massage them, it helps move them out. So hot and cold applications do that. So if you have something in your eye, if you have a virus in your eye or pink eye, one of the common treatments is to take hot water or hot rags and then cold rags and alternate hot and cold, right? Why? To drive it out the eye, right? Marie, part of it is cold showers. There's also a lot of other therapies as well. So yeah, she's asking if cold showers is what I'm talking about. Yeah, typically you would do hot first and then finish with cold. You always finish with cold. Never finish with hot. Always finish with cold. Oh, I just lost Facebook. Oh, that's fun. Welcome back. Yeah, I stopped talking during the pause. I lost Facebook completely. Instagram's still here. So I'm just going to finish up here and then I'll have to post it to Facebook. I don't know what's going on with Facebook lately, but it's really a shame. But what are you going to do? Not much we can do about it, right? So anyway, as I was talking about cold showers and hot and cold compresses, in fact, hot and cold compresses are something I would definitely recommend anytime you're trying to move something through the mucous membranes or through the lymphatic system when you're sick. Always a good idea to try to do that. Where constitutional hydrotherapy, which I spoke about in the beginning, using electrical wave stimulation, if you have any naturopaths in your area, they may offer this treatment. It's called constitutional hydrotherapy, and it uses electrodes and hot and cold applications with towels and sheets and warm blankets to actually stimulate the entire lymphatic system and immune system. It's pretty freaking amazing. In fact, there are studies on that constitutional hydrotherapy has been found to reduce anxiety, improve mood, relieve headaches, and improve quality of life. Okay, which in many cases, if you're going through a really chronic medical condition, just having that boost of energy and quality of life stimulation is well worth the investment in constitutional hydrotherapy. That one's not free. That one you have to pay someone to do, but it's an interesting therapy and one definitely looking into. Back to talking about internal applications of water, a lot of people ask me, well, how do I get that much water in my body throughout the day? And I have a rule of thumb where I make sure that I drink a certain amount before noon. If I don't do that, I don't hit my goal for the day, and I don't know why. So that's one of the suggestions I have. Now, there's been research that says with drinking water, just drinking water in the morning can boost memory and concentration. That's been shown in research. It's also been shown that if you drink water before a meal, it improves the taste and digestion of the food. I don't usually recommend drinking water during a meal because we have all these enzymes and hydrochloric acid that are released, and we need those in certain concentrations, so water will always dilute. So I always recommend drinking before or after a meal as opposed to during a meal. You could take small sips, but I don't go overboard on it, okay? Drinking water during cold and flu season can help ward off germs. This has been proven in research, okay? I'm not making this up, okay? Drinking water when you're tired can boost your energy. Research shows that as well, not making it up. And I have links to these research in the article about hydrotherapy, okay? So you can look it up and you can see what I'm talking about. Drinking water before a meal can reduce your calorie intake by 13%. So for those of you that are trying to reduce the size of your meals, make sure you're well hydrated. It can help with your appetite. So those are some pretty cool benefits of internal use of water. Now, externally, let's talk a little bit about cold showers and warm showers, okay? Something as simple as a shower, which most of us are doing every day, or should be. My 12-year-old son sometimes argues with me on that. But they have very different effects. So cold showers tend to lead more towards boosting your metabolism, supporting your immune system, and cooling any sort of inflammation or itchy skin. Now, on that note, whether you start with a cold shower or stay in a cold shower and how long you stay in the shower has different effects. I usually recommend if you're tired, you're feeling kind of run down under the weather, that you do a warm shower and then take about 2 to 3 minutes at the end to turn it cold. That'll wake you up pretty darn quick. You can also start with a colder shower and do it for longer duration, right? For some of the effects I've just spoken about. There is a link to research on that as well for those of you that want to take further information on that. Warm showers, soothing achy muscles, preparing your body for sleep. Warm water calms you down, right? Get in a hot tub, take a bath, right? Take a hot shower before bed, known to calm your mind. So this is a great one for anxiety, right? Not only does it switch your brain towards something else, but it also has a therapeutic effect. Relieving respiratory symptoms. Hot showers are great at that. I also keep essential oils in my shower. So depending on, my day, what I feel like, you can have something that's very uplifting, like bergamot or citrus. You could have eucalyptus if you're having some respiratory issues, if you have asthma. You can do things like lavender if you just want to calm yourself down and prepare yourself for sleep. So you can use different essential oils in the shower as well. And if it's nice and steamy, it's just like being in your own little steam diffuser, right? Okay. Now, in the very beginning, I talked about wet socks. Has anyone heard about wet socks? This is great for kids. This is great for kids. In fact, I have a friend and colleague who is a naturopathic pediatrician. I am trying to get her on here because I think she will have some valuable information for you about how well kids respond when you do these types of things for their immune system. But wet socks treatment is basically exactly what it sounds like. It's using wet socks to help kids, and adults through illnesses and help their immune system. So it's a natural way to stimulate immune response, and it promotes circulation. And as you know, if you have any type of injury or any type of concern, you want to bring circulation to that area to heal it, right? That's why when you cut yourself, it gets all red and ooey and gooey, because you're bringing circulation to that area. And that's what hot does as well. So if you're trying to get blood vessels to the area to stimulate movement and warmth, that's why you would use something warm, right? If you're trying to close those blood vessels off and get it away, like if you're swelling, you would use cold, right? So how this works, you soak your feet. My phone rang during that. Sorry about that. So how I always did socks is I would put, I have one way to do it in on the article, which involves soaking your feet. How I learned how to do it was you basically take socks, thin socks, the thinnest socks you can find, and they need to be cold. So you rinse them in cold water, and I would put them in the freezer for maybe 10, 15 minutes. I didn't want them frozen, but I wanted them very cold as you can tolerate. So you rinse them in water, wring them out really good, get as much of the water out, throw them in the freezer for like 10 or 15 minutes if you can tolerate it. Put the cold socks on your feet. That's right, I said put them on your feet. Yikes, right? And then you place dry wool socks over the top. Now, if you're someone that really has a hard time with cold, you can warm those socks in the dryer, but they need to be really thick, warm wool socks over the top. And then you go to bed, you sleep, right? When you wake up in the morning, your socks should be dry. If they're not, that means your immune system wasn't stimulated enough. So typically what will happen is the body will send the energy down to the feet and they will dry the socks, and that's an immune response. So the key is to dry those with your own body heat, trying to match up to it. Now, if you do this in kids, if they're starting to get a sniffle or a flu or they're not feeling well, many times, especially in the little ones, the little guys, like the toddlers and stuff, you will see that they feel much better the next day. But this is an actually proven therapy called wet socks, if you can believe it. I use that a lot on my little kids. So you just have to be able to tolerate those really cold socks first. You can always, cover yourself in warm blankets if you're really sensitive to cold, but really the whole goal is for your feet to warm it up. Now, if you want to do that during the day, you can, but you're going to notice it more. It's much better at night. Okay, but they should be dry in the morning. And you can repeat this every night before bed during your illness. So that's another way to do hydrotherapy at home. So you guys are great. We lost Facebook. I don't know what's going on. They keep changing their platform and they keep dropping me off whenever. It's odd. It's whenever I start talking about the immune system, although maybe I'm just being a conspiracy theorist, but every time I start talking about the immune system, they cut me off. Or my internet miraculously kicks me off. I don't know if it's coincidental or not. Thank heavens for Instagram here that pauses but then allows me to come back. So hopefully you guys over there jumped over here and I will repost this over there and we'll just deal with it. But hydrotherapy, definitely consider it. Remember to drink your water today internally. And if you're feeling at all under the weather, put some hot and cold applications, try some wet socks, gargle some water, see what it does. And definitely share your findings with me, okay? So that's even more important. I want to hear about it. How did it work for you? So thank you to all of you for being here today. Happy Monday. Have a great day. And I will see you guys tomorrow around the same time. Got a good topic for tomorrow, I think. If I pick the one that I think I'm picking. So make sure you're here. And I'll talk to you later. Thanks. Have a great day. This is Dr. Tricia Pingle. Have a wonderful day. Bye.